she was the world's biggest pop princess. She sold millions of albums. She performed at the Super Bowl. But behind the glitz and red carpets, Britney Spears' life spiraled into a legal nightmare and media circus. In this video, we walk through 8 dramatic chapters of her rise, her breakdowns, the infamous conservatorship, the #FreeBritney movement, and where she is today. This is the full story you've never heard, from the highs to the darkest moments. But before we begin this emotional roller coaster, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because today we're diving deep into one of Hollywood's most shocking real-life stories, the rise, breakdown of Britney Spears. Britney Jean Spears was born on December 2nd, 1981, in Macomb, Mississippi, and raised in Kentwood, Louisiana, a quiet, southern town that would soon produce one of the biggest names in pop history. From the moment she could walk, Britney was performing. Her parents, Jamie and Lynn Spears, quickly noticed their daughter's natural gift for singing and dancing. Small-town talent shows became her early stages, places where little Britney would stun audiences with her powerful voice far beyond her age. At just 8 years old, Britney auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club. She was told she was too young, but not forgotten. Disney executives recommended her to a New York talent agent. Soon, Britney was training at the Professional Performing Arts School and appearing in off-Broadway plays like Ruthless, where her star quality couldn't be ignored. By age 11, she finally joined the all-new Mickey Mouse Club, alongside soon-to-be legends like Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, and Ryan Gosling. It was here that Britney learned the ropes of professional entertainment, performance discipline, camera work, and the demanding schedule that would one day define her adult life. After the show ended, Britney returned home to Louisiana for a brief period, but it wouldn't last. She knew exactly what she wanted: the world's stage. By 15, she had a demo in hand and a record deal waiting with Jive Records. The girl from Kentwood was about to become a global phenomenon. In late 1998, a teenage Britney Spears walked into the world's spotlight with a single that changed pop culture forever: Baby One More Time. The music video, featuring Britney in a schoolgirl outfit dancing through hallways, became instantly iconic, playful, rebellious, and controversial. Critics debated its message, parents panicked, but fans, they couldn't get enough. The song hit #1 in over 20 countries, and the album of the same name sold more than 10 million copies in its first year. The success was explosive. Britney went from small-town Louisiana to global superstardom overnight. Her name was everywhere. MTV, Rolling Stone covers, late-night interviews, sold-out arenas. Her follow-up album, Oops, I Did It Again, broke even more records. Britney wasn't just a pop star. She was a brand, a symbol of youth, beauty, and early 2000s culture. But success came with a price. As her fame skyrocketed, the paparazzi followed her every step. They camped outside her house, chased her car, shouted invasive questions. Her relationships, especially with fellow Mickey Mouse Club alumnus Justin Timberlake, became media gold. Tabloids painted her as both the angelic teen idol and the fallen girl next door. The double standard was clear. She was expected to be perfect, but mocked whenever she stumbled. Still, Britney's performances remained electrifying. From her snake-handling I'm a Slave for You performance at the 2001 MTV VMAs to her legendary Super Bowl appearance, she was unstoppable. But behind the glitter, something fragile was beginning to crack. By 2007, Britney Spears' life was spiraling into chaos, and the entire world was watching every second of it. The relentless pressure of fame, a collapsing marriage, and the loss of privacy were taking a visible toll. Every move she made was documented by paparazzi lenses that followed her like shadows. Imagine being unable to walk to your car, go to a cafe, or even hold your child without a mob of photographers shouting your name. That was Britney's reality. But to truly understand Britney's breakdown, we have to rewind a little, back to one of the first betrayals that shaped the way the public saw her: Justin Timberlake. Britney and Justin were the golden couple of the late 1990s and early 2000s. Both had risen from the Mickey Mouse Club to international superstardom. Fans adored them together: the denim outfits, the perfect smiles, the fairy tale romance that seemed unbreakable. But when it ended in 2002, everything changed, not just for Britney, but for how the entire world perceived her. Their breakup wasn't just personal, it was weaponized. Justin saw an opportunity, and he took it. His solo career was just beginning, and what better way to launch it than by framing himself as the heartbroken hero and Britney as the unfaithful villain. He released Cry Me a River, a song and a music video, but all but accused Britney of cheating on him. In the video, a Britney lookalike is shown betraying him, leaving viewers to fill in the blanks. It was the perfect PR storm. Fans sympathized with Justin, while Britney was painted as the cold-hearted cheater. The narrative took root fast, and Britney became a target of mockery and judgment. The media ran wild with the story. Late-night hosts, magazines, and tabloids branded her as the bad girl who broke the pop prince's heart. Interviewers humiliated her, asking about her sex life, her virginity, and whether she had hurt Justin. Diane Sawyer even confronted her on live television, implying she had caused Timberlake's pain. Britney, on the verge of tears, apologized, even though she had nothing to apologize for. Behind the scenes, the truth was more complicated. Friends close to Britney later revealed that Justin had not been entirely faithful himself during their relationship. But the media never cared about fairness. They chose their hero, and it wasn't Britney. This betrayal became one of the first emotional wounds that never fully healed. She was still so young, just 21, and suddenly the whole world turned on her. The image of America's sweetheart was ripped apart, placed with a tabloid caricature of a reckless woman. That moment set the tone for how Britney would be treated the years to come, as a spectacle, not a person. Every heartbreak, every misstep, every breakdown would be turned into entertainment. The Justin Timberlake scandal was just the beginning of that pattern, a cruel blueprint for how the media would feast on Britney's pain. So when 2007 arrived, when her marriage fell apart, when she lost custody, when the pressure became too much, it wasn't a sudden collapse. It was years of pain, humiliation, and emotional manipulation, finally erupting in public. Then came the night that defined a generation. The night Britney walked into Esther's hair salon in Tarzana, California, grabbed a pair of clippers, and shaved her head. It wasn't just an impulsive act. It was a cry for freedom. Those who were there said she told the staff, "I don't want anyone touching me. I'm tired of people touching me." In that moment, her bald head became more than a headline. It became a symbol of rebellion against control, manipulation, and control, and the suffocating grip of fame. The media, of course, didn't see pain, they saw profit. Photos of Britney's shaved head sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Late-night hosts mocked her. News outlets dissected her breakdown as if it were entertainment. But behind those flashes and headlines was a woman screaming for help. Soon after, the chaos deepened. Britney's behavior became erratic. Nights out at clubs, missed rehearsals, sudden outbursts. Paparazzi swarmed her so intensely that she couldn't drive safely. And one fateful night, she snapped again, attacking a photographer's car with an umbrella. That photo became one of the most infamous images in pop culture history. But instead of asking why Britney had reached that point, the world laughed, memed, and ridiculed her pain. By late 2007, her struggles were undeniable. Custody of her children was taken away after a series of alarming incidents, including reports that she refused to return them after visits. Her career came to a standstill. The same tabloids that once celebrated her every move now painted her as unstable, dangerous, and unfit. What few people realized at the time was that Britney was battling more than public humiliation. She was fighting for her sanity in a system that was designed to break her. She wasn't just losing control of her image. She was about to lose control of her entire life. The breakdown of 2007 wasn't the end. It was the setup for something even more controversial. Something that would define her next 13 years. A legal arrangement that gave others complete authority over her mind, her body, and her fortune. Because out of that chaos came the conservatorship and the beginning of the Free Britney era. When the world watched Britney Spears unravel in 2007, most people thought she was simply a troubled pop star who had lost her way. But behind the headlines and viral photos, something far darker was taking shape. A system built not to protect her, but to control her. A system that turned her into a product again, only this time, she was no longer the one in charge. After her public breakdowns, the shaved head, the custody battles, the late-night ambulance scenes, Britney's father, Jamie Spears, stepped in. The court granted him what's known as a conservatorship, a legal arrangement typically reserved for the elderly or those deemed mentally incapable of managing their own affairs. Overnight, Britney lost her basic human rights. She could no longer make decisions about her career, her finances, her body, or even her relationships. Everything, from who she could see to whether she could buy a cup of coffee, was filtered through her conservators. Jamie Spears was named the head of this arrangement. The justification was that it was for her protection. But as the years went by, it became clear that protection was the last thing Britney was getting. Instead, everyone around her began to profit. Jamie Spears was placed in charge of her multi-million-dollar empire, and he paid himself handsomely to manage her life. Reports later revealed that he took a percentage of her performances and tours, meaning the more Britney worked, the more he earned. Under the guise of helping her, her father became one of the primary people benefiting from her pain. Britney's business managers, lawyers, and even members of her inner circle also gained financially from the arrangement. Every album, every Las Vegas residency, every appearance meant more money, not for Britney, but for the people handling her. While she was forced to perform night after night under strict control, her access to her own fortune was limited to small allowances, sometimes as little as $2,000 a week, despite being worth over $60 million. Her family, who should have been her source of comfort, became part of the machinery. Her mother, Lynn Spears, and sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, benefited indirectly from the conservatorship's financial structure. Jamie Lynn was given access to funds and production deals that Britney herself didn't even approve. Britney would later write in her memoir that she felt deeply betrayed, not just by her father, but by her entire family, who watched it all happen and did nothing. Britney's life became a carefully orchestrated prison. Every move she made was monitored by handlers, assistants, and security teams. Her phone was tracked. She wasn't allowed to drive herself anywhere or speak freely. Those close to her later revealed that even her therapy sessions and personal messages were observed. She couldn't see friends without approval, and if she spoke out, even slightly, her privileges were taken away. This wasn't just control, it was systemic abuse under a legal disguise. And yet the most disturbing part was how profitable her captivity became. Despite being under mental distress, Britney was forced to work constantly. Albums like Circus and Femme Fatale were released during her conservatorship, and her performances were tightly scheduled. When she performed at the MTV Video Music Awards or during her Vegas residency, audiences saw a glittering pop icon. But behind the makeup and choreography was a woman who had no say in her own life. In one chilling moment that later surfaced in her testimony, Britney revealed that she had been forced to take lithium, a powerful psychiatric drug that made her feel numb and disoriented. When she objected to continuing her Las Vegas residency, her management allegedly punished her, canceling her shows and tightening control over her daily routine. She wasn't treated as an artist or even a person. She was treated like an asset that needed to be managed, exploited, and silenced. Her father often justified his control by claiming Britney wasn't well enough to live independently, but well enough to generate millions. This contradiction became the defining symbol of her conservatorship, the illusion of protection, masking a reality of exploitation. And where was the rest of the world during this time? The fans, the ones who once screamed her name in arenas, didn't fully understand what was happening. The mainstream media had long stopped asking questions. Britney's Instagram posts became her only lifeline to the outside world. Cryptic captions, strange videos, and subtle messages that many dismissed as quirky. But for her most loyal followers, something felt wrong. They began noticing inconsistencies, and whispers started spreading online. Could Britney be sending hidden messages through her posts? Was she really free? And out of those whispers came a movement that would grow into one of the biggest pop culture reckonings in modern history. #FreeBritney. But before that movement would take hold, Britney had to survive the next decade. 10 long years of silence, manipulation, and control by those who claimed to love her. The people who built her career had turned her into a prisoner in her own success, and her family, instead of rescuing her, became part of the cage. This wasn't just the story of a pop star under pressure. It was the story of a woman stripped of autonomy, surrounded by vultures, feeding on her fame. Britney once sang, "I'm not a girl, not yet a woman." But what she couldn't have known then was that the world, her industry, her family, her own father, would spend the next decade deciding she was neither. She was simply a possession to be managed, a product to be maintained. And while the cameras stopped flashing, the real imprisonment was only beginning. For over a decade, Britney Spears' life was like a glittering cage, one where she danced, sang, and smiled for the cameras, while behind the scenes, she lived under near total control. Her father and his legal team ran her estate like a business, and every person who claimed to care for her seemed to profit from her confinement. But no one, not her management, not the courts, not the media, seemed to question the system that kept her silenced, until the fans noticed something was wrong. At first, it was small, a strange Instagram caption here, a cryptic quote there. Britney's social media posts started to feel unsettling, unnatural. She posted repetitive dance videos, odd emojis, and random phrases that didn't sound like her at all. To casual followers, it was just eccentric celebrity behavior. But for her loyal fans, something didn't sit right. The woman who once radiated joy, confidence, and control now seemed robotic, almost like someone else was posting for her. Then came a podcast episode in 2019 that changed everything. A show called Britney's Gram, hosted by two comedians, began analyzing Britney's Instagram posts, jokingly at first. But soon, they received an anonymous voicemail from a paralegal claiming to have worked with Britney's legal team. The caller's voice trembled as he revealed shocking details. Britney was being held in a mental health facility against her will. And the conservatorship was far from protective, it was abusive. The message was short, but it was explosive. Within days, the hashtag #FreeBritney started trending across social media. What began as a niche internet theory evolved into a global movement. Fans all over the world demanded answers. They began showing up at her court hearings, waving pink signs that read "Free Britney" and "Justice for Britney." For the first time, the public conversation shifted. Britney wasn't crazy. She was captive. At the same time, the media, the same industry that had once mocked her, was forced to confront its own role in her downfall. Old interviews resurfaced, showing how cruelly she had been treated by journalists, talk show hosts, and even other celebrities. Clips of a teenage Britney being grilled about her body and love life went viral again, this time sparking outrage rather than laughter. The movement wasn't just about one pop star anymore. It became a symbol of how women in entertainment were exploited, silenced, and controlled for profit. Britney's story represented something much larger: the loss of autonomy under the weight of fame and patriarchy. Still, for years, Britney herself remained silent in public. Her father's team insisted she was fine, even as fans gathered outside the courthouse chanting her name. They said she loved the conservatorship. They claimed she was free to end it any time, though in reality, she had no power to do so. But behind the scenes, Britney was beginning to fight back. In 2020, during one of the many court hearings about her conservatorship, Britney's appointed attorney revealed that she wanted her father removed from control. A bold move that confirmed what fans had suspected all along. She was not okay with how she was being treated. Then came the documentary that would expose everything. Framing Britney Spears. Released in early 2021, it peeled back the layers of exploitation and public cruelty that had haunted her for decades. The film shocked viewers worldwide, forcing even her harshest critics to reckon with how society had failed her. Celebrities who had once stayed silent, from Miley Cyrus to Cher, began speaking out in support. Even politicians joined in, calling for conservatorship reform. Meanwhile, the protests outside Los Angeles courthouses grew larger and louder. The pink posters became symbols of defiance, and the chants of "Free Britney" echoed across the globe. Fans became amateur investigators, tracking court documents, reading filings, and analyzing legal loopholes, doing the work that journalists and lawyers had ignored for years. But what truly broke the silence was Britney's own voice. On June 23, 2021, Britney Spears addressed the court directly in a public hearing for the first time in over a decade. Her testimony was raw, unfiltered, and heartbreaking. She revealed that she had been forced to perform when she didn't want to, drugged with lithium against her will, forbidden from removing her birth control device, and threatened by her management and family if she disobeyed. "I've been in shock. I am traumatized," she said, her voice shaking. "I just want my life back." The world stopped. Those 24 minutes of testimony shattered the illusion that Britney was being protected. Her words confirmed everything the Free Britney movement had been fighting for. Fans cried. Lawmakers spoke out. Even the media, once complicit in her humiliation, began apologizing. The court of public opinion turned, and suddenly, Britney wasn't the punchline. She was the victim of a system designed to control her. The fallout was massive. Her father, Jamie, faced mounting legal and public pressure. Sponsors and business partners distanced themselves. Public outrage forced the courts to reevaluate the conservatorship entirely. Within months, Jamie was suspended as conservator, and the process began to finally unravel. For the first time in 13 years, Britney Spears began to taste freedom. She took to Instagram to thank her fans, the same people who had seen through the lies when no one else would. "You guys saved my life," she wrote. But as much as this chapter marked the beginning of liberation, it also revealed the true depth of betrayal that surrounded her. The people she trusted most, her father, her management, and even parts of her family, had built their wealth and comfort on her captivity. The conservatorship wasn't an accident. It was a design, a system that allowed those around her to feed off her success while keeping her silent. The Free Britney movement didn't just rescue a pop star. It exposed one of the most disturbing cases of legal control and exploitation in modern celebrity history. And while Britney was finally beginning to regain her voice, the damage of 13 years of silence, of being treated as property instead of a person, would not fade easily. Because as the world would soon learn, freedom on paper isn't always freedom in the heart. When the gavel finally came down in November 2021, ending Britney Spears' 13-year conservatorship, it felt like the entire world exhaled. After years of watching her life unfold like a tragic movie, fans cheered, cried, and celebrated. She was finally free to speak, free to live, and free to make choices for herself. For the first time in over a decade, Britney had control over her own life. No more court-ordered guardians, no more forced medication, no one dictating what she could wear, where she could go, or who she could love. It was a hard-fought victory, not just for Britney, but for every fan who had screamed #FreeBritney in protest, who refused to stop believing her voice mattered. But freedom, as it turned out, wasn't the fairy tale everyone expected. When the conservatorship ended, Britney was stepping into a world that had changed, and so had she. The internet had evolved into a place where every post, every word, every movement was dissected in real time. After 13 years of being silenced, Britney began using her Instagram as her loudest megaphone. At first, her posts were bursts of emotion, selfies, cryptic captions, expressive videos. She shared her thoughts about her past, called out her family for their role in her suffering, and celebrated her newfound independence. She even posted nude and semi-nude photos, not for shock, but for liberation. After being told for years what she could and couldn't do with her own body, Britney seemed determined to reclaim it on her terms. But as months went by, her posts began to worry fans. There were videos of her spinning in circles for minutes at a time, dancing in her living room, or speaking in a way that seemed erratic and disjointed. Captions were often confusing, filled with emojis, capital letters, and tangents that didn't always make sense. Supporters who had once fought for her freedom now found themselves asking, "Is Britney okay?" Some believed it was trauma surfacing after years of control, a natural reaction from someone who had been silenced and medicated for so long. Others speculated that she was struggling with mental health challenges that had never been properly addressed outside of her conservatorship. There were even conspiracy theories suggesting that she wasn't managing her own social media at all, that her posts were still being filtered or controlled. Meanwhile, her personal life remained turbulent. Britney married Sam Asghari, her longtime boyfriend, in 2022, a celebration that seemed to mark a new beginning. But just a year later, the couple separated, and reports surfaced of intense arguments and emotional strain. Britney's memoir, The Woman in Me, released in 2023, shed more light on her truth. From her teenage fame to her painful breakup with Justin Timberlake and the trauma of years under her father's control, the book was raw, vulnerable, and unfiltered, and it became an instant bestseller. Still, her social media presence continued to spark concern. Videos of her dancing with knives, long rants about her family, and erratic posts made headlines. Some fans began to worry that she was spiraling again, while others defended her right to express herself however she wanted. After all, for more than a decade, the world had demanded she behave a certain way. Maybe now, she was just being unapologetically Britney, even if it looked messy. Professionally, she remained hesitant to return to music. Though there were rumors of a comeback, collaborations, new albums, even documentaries, Britney herself made it clear. She didn't owe the world another performance. "I worked my whole life. I don't have to prove anything anymore," she wrote on Instagram. For someone who had spent decades being told what to do, this refusal wasn't laziness, it was empowerment. Still, the questions linger. Is Britney truly happy? Is she healing? Or is she still trapped, just in a different kind of cage, one built from trauma and the unrelenting gaze of the internet? The truth may lie somewhere in between. Healing after years of manipulation, control, and public humiliation is not simple. Freedom doesn't erase pain. It only gives you the chance to face it on your own terms. And for Britney, that process is ongoing. She remains one of the most famous women in the world, but also one of the most misunderstood. Her story has become a mirror, reflecting our own obsession with celebrity, control, and redemption. For decades, society consumed her. Her success, her breakdown, her recovery. And now, even as she lives life freely, the world still watches her every move, waiting for signs of stability or collapse. But maybe that's the point. Britney's journey isn't meant to make us comfortable. It's meant to remind us of the cost of fame and the resilience of the human spirit.